Okay, so it's time for my February book haul, and I gotta say, I think I got a lot of really good selections. Not only collectible, but the content. I've got some books that I'm really excited to read, and I probably will be reading a few of these in the next few months. So let's just get right into it. We're gonna kind of always like to start off a little slow and build up to some of what I think are the better finds that I've gotten. And once again, I found most of these books all either locally at bookstores, thrift stores, online stores, eBay, and usually I don't spend more than $3 a book on average. So I've got Sphere here by Michael Crichton. This is kind of one of the few Michael Crichton books I've actually read, and I really liked it. It had a good science fiction element. His books always kind of have a thriller flair, which I'm fine with, but thought I'd just throw that in the collection. I got it really cheap. Now, this was an interesting one. I bought a lot on eBay, and I forget how many books were in it, and this was one of them. I knew nothing about this. This is called The Hole in the Zero by M.K. Joseph. And I start looking these up online when I get them, and this one had a real interesting kind of concept and reviews, so I might read that one pretty soon. Next, this is one I'd been looking for. I knew I wanted to read this next for my Paul Anderson read. It's called The High Crusade. If you know anything about the premise of this book, or you want to pause and read the back here, it's a really interesting concept, and there's been some other people talking about it. I think probably be reading this one in the next, maybe next month in March. And then I got After Worlds Collide by Philip Wiley and Edwin Ballmer. I had, a couple months ago, I had gotten the first book in this series. Now the name is kind of slipping my brain, but, the sequel to When Worlds Collide, yep. So that's the sequel to that. If I really like that book, I'll probably just go on to that. Then I found a copy of The Demolished Man by Alfred Bester. I have this in many different editions, but I do like this edition too, and it was in like perfect condition and next to nothing. Cost next to nothing. Okay, we've got quite a few here to get through. The Man in the Maze by Robert Silverberg. This is one that isn't in the best shape, but Silverberg, he put out a ton of work in like the 70s, and a lot of it's really high quality, and I think that's in that kind of realm of his writing. Then I can never pass up a Spinrad. This is called Little Heroes by Norman Spinrad, and this one was in like immaculate condition. And it's a thick one for Spinrad. I think it's almost 600 pages. So this could be a tough one to get through if you don't like the Spinrad stories. Then I got Frederick Brown, Rogue in Space. I've read one novel so far from Frederick Brown, and just it seems like very lighthearted. He throws some comedy in. So this is a nice short read, one of his more popular science fictions that it'll be probably a good palate cleanser to throw in at some point. This is one I heard a lot about. This is The Missionaries by D.G. Compton. And this one I had passed by in one of our local stores and just never noticed it. And it's in like perfect condition. And this one I think is supposed to be pretty grim. So probably need to be in the right mood to read that one. The Fires of Paratime by L.E. Mondesitt Jr. I have the book club hardback of this one. I like the cover of both of them. The premise I read, and it sounds pretty interesting. He kind of writes on the fantasy side of things. But I'm probably going to replace my book club and just have the softback or the mass market paperback. Then I got When Harley Was Won by David Gerrold. And this is interesting. This was one of these ones that came in that big lot of books, and I didn't know anything about it. The concept sounded pretty good, though, and I kept it to the side. And then I found out that there's a kind of a science fiction convention that happens in Montana, actually in Missoula, Montana, called MizCon. And he's going to be one of the speakers that are there this summer. So if I manage to go, maybe I'll take that book and see if he can sign it or something. Now, this book I showed off in my monthly wrap-up. This is one I read recently. This is Hot House by Brian Aldiss. But I enjoyed it so much. I had the Easton Press copy, but I really was looking for this Baen copy. And this can go for a lot of money. And I managed to find a pretty good deal online from a place. I think I paid $5 for that one, though. And then I scored a pretty good lot on eBay of James Tiptree Jr. There was 4 books in the lot. They are all first printing. You know, these are a lot of short stories that were put together for the first time in these books, but they're all in like excellent condition. And so we've got Out of Nowhere and Other Extraordinary Visions by James Tiptree Jr. And most people know that James Tiptree Jr. is a pseudonym for a female author. I think her name is Alice Sheldon, maybe? Not sure about that. Warm Worlds and Otherwise. So this was another one in great shape. 10,000 Light Years from Home. And Star Songs of an Old Primate. So this was a really good deal on this lot. I picked these, I think with shipping they averaged about $5 a piece, which is a little more than I normally pay, but Tiptree books are kind of hard to find, especially in good condition. Now keeping with the theme of female authors, we got Joanna Russ, The Two of Them. This is another one that this lot that I got here that I'm showing off. All of these books almost all of them are in just amazing condition. And Chaos Died, another one by Joanna Russ. So I've been working on my collection of Russ books. I've only read one so far, The Female Man, and I really liked it. Roger Zelazny's, someone I just read recently. I read This Immortal, and I loved it. And some viewers had left some comments about some of his other stories that I might like, and this is one of them. It's Jack of Shadows, and this is a Signet edition here. And then we got The Dream Master, also by Roger Zelazny. This one we've got is an Ace edition. And one more by Zelazny. We got Creatures of Light and Darkness. And you'll notice this livery. There's a lot of his books from Avon that have these red page blocks or end blocks and the dark covers, the same font, all that. So I'm getting quite a few of those now. Next we got a couple from Barry Malzberg, The Day of the Burning. And these Malzberg covers, they're pretty wild. He's kind of one of the new wave authors. And yeah, so that's a cool one. And then The Sodom and Gomorrah Business. Now that is an interesting cover. Let's zoom in on that guy. So got a few from Malzberg now. The nice thing about these books, they're all pretty short, so you can burn through these books, and if you don't like them, you don't have to deal with them for too long. Now here's an older science fiction author, J.T. McIntosh. I've only read one book of his. I have a hardback of it. I forget what it's called, but we got Flight from Rebirth, and this is an Avon edition. And we got, I think this is his most famous work, Transmigration, and it has got an astounding cover here. But I believe these were kind of reprinted paperbacks. I think he was, let me just double check. Oh, copyright 1970, maybe not. But, okay, so then let's move on. We got Inferno by Larry Niven and Jerry Purnell. This one's got a little bit of a lean, but still in decent shape. These two teamed up and wrote a lot of books together. I've read Lucifer's Hammer that they did together, and I will be reading The Mote in God's Eye as part of this series that I'm doing. Okay, now we got a bunch of Daw Yellow Spine books. We'll go through these a little quicker. Joe Clayton, Ghost Hunt. And look this up. This is part of a series. I think maybe a little bit on the fantasy side, but I figured I got to read Joe Clayton at some point. Century of the Mannequin by E.C. Tubb. A lot of these are in pretty good shape. Sometimes you can tell the first thing that happens with these is the yellow spines get faded, but these are all pretty bright. Jeff Sutton, The Mind-Blocked Man. Okay, The Mind Behind the Eye by Joseph Green. Got a few of these, so I'll go through a little quicker. But I got a really good one, so don't skip forward too much. Michael G. Coney, Rax. This is an author. I've got, I think, The Celestial Locomotive of his. And all of his books have a real interesting premise. I got to get to him soon. Lloyd Biggle Jr., The Light That Never Was. Another author I have not read anything from, and some of these premises look pretty good. And these covers of these Lloyd Biggle Jr.'s, so this is another one, The World Menders. And I just really like that cover for some reason. C.I. DeFontenay, Star, P.S.I. Cassiopeia. Now, Matt from Science Fiction Reads talked about this book. This is a very, very old book. The copyright on this thing is really old. And then Daw came along and did a reprint of it at some point. And so I think at some point I got to read that just to get some really, really old sci-fi. Then we got The Star Droppers by John Brunner. And then the last one, which made me buy this lot, I saw this book kind of sneaking in a picture on eBay, and it's Monday Begins on Saturday by Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. And this book, I looked it up. I think this can go for a bit of money, especially in this really good condition. I don't really plan on selling it at this point. I've never read anything from these guys. I'm not sure I'd like any of their work, but at some point I'll try them out, and I'll hang on to the book for now. Okay, 2 more stacks, and this is where it gets a lot of fun. So Richard over at Vintage SF, he's been doing all these Ace Science Fiction specials, collecting them, reading the books. So I've got 3 of those. I've got The Black Corridor by Michael Moorcock. And I've learned from Richard all the cover art for this. I think this is series 1. These are all by Leo and Diane Dillon. And this one's in pretty good shape. Then we got another D.G. Compton, The Steel Crocodile. Another cover art by Leo and Diane Dillon. And then the last one is The Island Under the Earth by Avram Davidson. And so whenever I see these now, I pick them up. Eventually I'll probably have the whole set of the specials, but yeah. And then we got I got 4 Clifford Simics. We got a very old edition of City. I think there are older copies of this. This one was 75 cents. And it is a shorter book. Like, this is a standard paperback here, and you can see This was kind of like a transition from the pulp magazines to traditional mass market paperbacks. But this one was in really good condition, and I didn't have one of these older cities copy of that. Our Children's Children. This is a Berkeley edition. I did not have this copy. I'm getting close to having all of Clifford Simick's like main novels in mass market paperback, and once I collect them all, I'll probably do a video just showcasing those. All the Traps of Earth and Other Stories. This is an Avon edition. I love the cover art here. And this is a collection of short stories, so not one of his novels. And the last one from Simick is A Choice of Gods. This might be one of the next Simicks that I read. I have never read this one. I've read quite a few of his other books, especially his main ones. And I will be reading City and Way Station from the series that I'm doing. But I really want to read this one, A Choice of Gods. It's always been high on my next Simick list. So that probably by April I want to read that one. Now, some of us have been collecting these these Ballantine classic science fictions. And I got actually 5 of these. And this one is the best of Henry Kuttner. And this is before they were kind of branded with the Del Rey badge. So they still had the Ballantine thing. And this one is just in very, very good shape. These are kind of hard to find in great shape. Another one that is in this kind of Ballantine edition is the best of C.M. Kornbluth. And I know Ballantine and Del Rey, Del Rey was kind of an offshoot of Ballantine. And I forget everybody's names, Lester Del Rey and his wife and the Ballantines. Then we got the best of Raymond Z. Gallon. And this is a little later in the series when they are badged with the Del Rey. You can see there. Another one in great condition. And then the best of Robert Bloch, which, I know of Robert Bloch writing a lot of horror and just kind of literature. I've never read, that I know of, any of his science fiction. So at some point, I'll be probably reading through all of these best ofs. And then all these last books are Philip K. Dick's. We got the best of Philip K. Dick. And this one's in good condition. It's got this shininess and this feel to it that some of the other ones don't have, but I don't know if that was how they did it back then or what. And then I'm not a fan of movie tie-in books, but I got this Blade Runner. The original, this is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, but finding the original paperback of that, you could spend a lot of money on it, so that'll be my fill-in until I maybe find one in a bookstore somewhere. We got the 3 Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch. This is a Manor Books. They are not one of my favorite publishers of mass market paperbacks, but this one isn't too bad. Looks like they put a little more effort in the whole presentation of it, but some of the Manor books are just kind of a little boring in my opinion. Now we also have a Daw Yellow Spine from Philip K. Dick. Flow My Tears, the Policeman Said. This is one that can be hard to find and be a little expensive, but I scored this copy. I've been hunting for some of my favorite authors. Philip K. Dick is one of my favorites. I'm really stoked on this. This is kind of the original paperback of the I don't even know how to pronounce that. Simulacra. And this, once again, this is these kind of little shorter books. This was issued by Ace for 40 cents. Here's a traditional mass market paperback next to it. So you can see it's pretty cool. I'd like to eventually get I think there's I forget how many of his first novels were all in those Ace smaller editions. And then this is co-written, Philip K. Dick and Roger Zelazny, Deus Irae. And knowing these two authors and their writing styles, this sounds like a wild book. And if you look at the cover, it looks pretty epic. So at some point I've got to check this one out. So that's it. That's my book haul for February. I'll get these all on the shelves. It'll maybe change up your scenery a little bit. Also want to mention my old ring light was going to blow up. It was getting really hot. Changed the lighting a little bit. Hopefully this is good. If not, if you need a little more light, let me know. I'll try to adjust it for the next video. But other than that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.